something that I always found somewhat trivial is there's a lot of people that come in here that need to be exactly specific when they're talking about nomenclature regarding airsoft guns or just guns in general. I'll give you, for instance, some guys will come in looking for one of these things to put on the end of your barrel, and some guys will call it a silencer. Some guys will get really upset because they believe it needs to be called a suppressor. I don't care either way, just so long as I know what you're talking about when you're looking to buy one of these things. That's all that really matters to me. I mean, you want to impress me with your knowledge of guns? Show me that you can actually hit your target with this thing, and then we're talking. But outside of that, you know, I thought today we'd do a little extra and give you a rundown on the different variants of the M4 M16 assault rifle / carbine. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys are well aware of the fact that the M4 and the M16 are basically the same gun as far as the mechanics of what make these guns work. So the trigger group, the bolt carrier group, the buffer, and so on are pretty much interchangeable between the two guns. And we're talking about real guns here, not airsoft guns. The major difference between the two guns is the fact that the M4 is a carbine, which is a shorter length, and the M16 is a rifle, which has the longer full-length barrel. So the carbine will generally have anywhere from a little stubby 6-inch barrel all the way up to maybe a maximum of a 16-inch barrel, and the M16 will have the full-size 20-inch barrel on average. First one we're going to look at today is the M16A1. You aficionados of vintage firearms will know this pretty much as the Vietnam-era M16. Some of the defining features on the M16A1 include the 3-prong style flash hider. You'll also notice that this does have a forward assist, but it's got the teardrop shaped button on it for forcing the rounds forward into the chamber. On the original AR-15s that came out, there was no way to force the bolt forward, so if a round hung up and did not seat all the way in the chamber, there was no way to force the bolt forward and seat the round. So on the M16A1, they added a forward assist so that you could actually force the bolt in and actually seat the round in the chamber. Some of the things that make the A1 different from the A2 are the A1 does not have a shell deflector located at the back of the ejection port. You'll also notice that the rear sight is adjustable for windage, but there is no elevation screw located down there. That was not added until the A2 version of the M16. Some of the advancements on the M16A2 include the birdcage style flash hider on the front of it. Now, I know a lot of you guys like to call it a flash suppressor, whatever. It also has the shell deflector located at the rear of the ejection port. The reason they added this was a lot of lefties were shooting the gun and having empty shell casings eject and hit them right in the face. So they added this little deflector so that the shells would actually deflect off to the side and not smack you in the head. The other difference with the A2 is that they added an adjustable elevation as well as windage on the gun, so you didn't need a special tool in order to adjust this particular sight. Now, I know a lot of you guys are probably flipping out right now because this is a removable carry handle, which officially makes this into an A4. If this was actually an A2, this would all be molded into one piece and the carry handle would not be removable for the gun. But the odd thing about this is that it's an A4, but it's got the old-fashioned triangular handguards on it. So this was obviously designed by somebody in China that really sort of bastardized something between an A2 and an A4. So for you guys that want to be technical about it, call it what you want. Now, as far as the modern version of the M16A4, basically took everything of the A2 but added the flat top style receiver so that you actually could remove the carry handle in order to put different kinds of sights on it. Although I personally don't mind leaving that carry handle on it because it gives you a nice spot to add your scope, and you can still leave the iron sights on there, so if something happens to your optics and they go out of whack, you can always go back to your backup iron sights without having to change anything. This particular version would be referred to as a DMR rifle in that it has the bipod and the scope both as standard issue on this particular gun. The first variant of the M4 carbine we're going to look at today is the M4A1. This can be differentiated from the M16 in that it has a much shorter barrel on it. You'll also notice that the barrel in the middle of this section has a milled out area, which is where you attach the grenade launcher to it. The M16 does not have this milled out section on it. Now, this is a slightly dressed up version of the M4 over your average garden variety carbine in that this has the quad rail already mounted to it. You'll also notice that this has the fixed front and rear sights on it with a slightly modified rear sight, which allows us to add the EOTech optic in the middle. This is called co-witnessing, so that you're actually using your iron sights along with your optics, and they're all lined up together so that you're using the same picture for either one. The benefit of that is if something happens to your optics, which you got to understand, this is an electronic piece, the batteries could go dead, it could take a hit, get whacked, and go out of alignment. If that happens, a lot of guys will have flip-up sights on their guns, but the problem with that is you got to suddenly fumble with them and try to get the sights up, where if you're using a fixed sight like this, you don't have to change your sight picture at all. All you have to do is just keep pulling the trigger. Now, the other custom features on this particular gun are the rubberized pistol grip as well as the crane style telescoping stock. Now, telescoping stocks are pretty much standard on all M4 carbines since it makes it a little bit smaller to get around in tight spots. The thing with the crane stock is that it adds extra storage capacity. On actual firearms, they use these for holding extra batteries for your lasers and your flashlights. On the airsoft versions, it gives you a nice area to store your batteries so you don't have to tear apart your front handguard to get to it. It's very convenient. You just simply remove the butt pad and the batteries just simply slide right in. The next variant we're going to look at is the M4s System. This is basically a reproduction of the ARM's SIR system, which was one of the earliest versions of a selective rail system for the M4 carbine. The nice thing about this in an airsoft gun is that it gives you a fairly sizable area in which to put your battery into, as well as the quad rails for adding additional accessories. One of the cool things about the S system is that it adds a flip-up sight system onto it. On this particular gun, we've got a fixed front sights, although there are some variants of this gun that have the flip-up front sights as well as the flip-up rear sights. The other thing you'll notice about this particular gun is it has a pretty much straightforward 6-position telescoping stock on it as well. This is another gun that we've shown in some past episodes. This is just another variant of the M4 carbine. This particular one has the extended barrel all the way up to the end of the suppressor, which gives you a little bit better velocity and accuracy. This also has the quad rail, the flip-up front and rear sights on it. This has the ACOG style scope on it and the crane style stock. The next variant we're going to look at is the shorter barreled CQB version of the M4 carbine. This is only really different from the other M4 carbines in that it has a slightly smaller barrel for getting around tight spaces. Some of the custom features on this particular gun include the free-floating quad rail handguard as well as the Magpul style angled foregrip. Now, this gives you a slightly different way of grabbing the gun, and some people love them and some people hate them, so you really need to try it before you buy it because it doesn't agree with everybody, but it does look awfully cool on this particular gun. You'll also notice that this has the flip-up style sights on the front and rear of this gun, which are co-witnessed with the cantilever style sight, which sits up a little bit higher so that once again your sight lines up with your iron sights so that you can maintain the same sight picture either way. Some of the other features you'll notice on this gun are the Compensator style flash hider on the front of it. Now, if this was an actual gun, this would compensate for muzzle flip when you were shooting rapid fire or shooting in full auto. Obviously, it's an airsoft gun, so you don't have any of those problems, but it looks awfully cool on the gun. The other custom feature you'll notice is the magwell grip, which is made by Fab Defense in Israel. This gives you a great intuitive way of grabbing the gun. I notice most people, when you pick up an M16 or an M4, naturally your hand just goes right there on the magwell anyway. This gives you a little bit of a finger groove, so it's a little bit easier to grab the gun and gives you more of a positive grip on it. It also slightly flares out the magwell, so for doing mag changes, your mags go into it a little bit smoother since it opens up that space a little bit and makes changing mags go a little bit quicker. Now, if you really want to get into a short version of the M4, you may want to look into one of these shorty versions of the M4 CQB. Now, this gives you the free-floating handguard just like the other gun, but rather than having the barrel stick out, this has the integrated suppressor on the end of it, which gives you an overall barrel length of only 6 inches. This gun comes complete with the crane style telescoping stock as well as the flip up sights on the gun. So if you want to make it as compact as possible, you can flip your sights down, collapse your stock and make the gun into a teeny little gun. Or if you want to make it a little easier to shoot, you can flip your sights up, open your stock up, and it gives you a nice comfortable position to shoot the gun from. Now, probably the greatest thing about the M4 and the M16 is that your options for these guns are really only limited by your own imagination. In this case, we've got another short barrel version of the M4, but rather than having a built-in suppressor, this time it's just got a standard 6-inch barrel on it. This also has the free-floating handguard with a fixed front sight, which makes it a kind of an unusual combination. Now this gun does have a fixed stock on it, but rather than a full-length stock, it's actually a shorty version, which is actually cut down a few inches. The nice thing about this is that it gives you a fairly substantial amount of storage for putting your batteries in. The other thing you'll notice about this is that it has the S-System style flip-up rear sight, so if you're using optics, you can flip your sight down out of the way, or if you want to use your iron sights, you can flip them up and go right to work. So those are just some of your options, from the full-size M16 DMR all the way down to the short-barreled version of the M4 CQB. Now we can do any of these custom features, so if you're looking at designing a gun like this, best bet is stop in here at the showroom. We'll sit down with you and help you design a gun that meets specifically your needs. Although I have to warn you that this kind of custom quality can be a bit expensive, so there are a lot of guns that we have on our website that are just stock guns that have many of these custom features built in, and you can see them at replayairsoft.com. So check out our website or stop in here at the showroom, and until the next time, don't let the bastards get you down.